Good morning. My name is Paul. We got a few announcements we're going to start with today, and then we'll get to the regular service. Quick reminder, there's going to be a special congregational meeting on the 23rd. All of that is in here, which is in your bulletin, so read that and you'll find out what most of the announcements are. I'm highlighting a few. Soapbox Sunday is coming up. We have 6 people signed up. That's 18 minutes. A sermon normally lasts about 20 minutes. So if you would like to sign up, do so quickly. The list is over there. We're going from the top on down the list, and when we run out of time, that's when we're done. So if you'd like to do something for Soapbox Sunday, please do. Soapbox Sunday simply means you can stand up here on this soapbox for 3 minutes and rant about anything you want to rant about. Something at work, something the city's bugging you, you don't like the color of the rug, whatever it may be, you can get up here for 3 minutes and talk about it as long as it doesn't offend anybody. Let's see here. Oh, there's an auction coming up. Don't forget about that. You can still donate a lot of stuff. That's in September. After church today, everybody who is in the choir or has ever been in the choir, or if you think you'd like to be in the choir, or if you don't know what the word choir means, meet over there by the piano about 10 minutes after the service ends. Everybody's going to get together and we're going to kind of discuss what's going to happen for the upcoming services, and especially the homecoming service. We do not have a music director or a choir director yet. We are still looking. If you are a music teacher or a retired music teacher, or if you know somebody who is really good with music and possibly leading, we need a new choir director. So please keep that in mind. The season is going to be here before we know it, and we would love to have that position filled. We have been doing some looking, and so far, not yet, but we're hoping for the best. And I think that's everything I got. Let's see. AED classes are coming up. Watch the calendar or ask Becca R. Where is she? Back there, way back there by the window. Can't miss her. Okay. And onward and forward.
Thank you, Paul. Good morning. Good morning. My name is Babs Garcia. I'm here today as your service leader, and today I am wearing a blue shirt, and I have messy hair because that's what this hair does, and I use she, they pronouns, and I'm happy to be here today. Whether you are here for the first time, if you're here on Zoom or in person, we are happy that you are here today. Thank you for sharing this morning with us, and we hope that you can stay for coffee or tea and conversation after the service. All right, so Judith Martin will be our chalice lighter in the sanctuary today. The chalice lighting words are from Deborah Falk. The chalice lit among us is a beacon of hope in a world in crisis, a beacon of possibility made manifest in community, a beacon of warmth through our interconnections, a beacon of light illuminating our shared wisdom, a beacon of connection by being together, and a beacon of cooperation.
Bucket.
Hello, my name is Chandra. Pronouns are she, her. I'm wearing a tan shirt. I have brown hair. Today we have a story called The Clever Boy and the Terrible Dangerous Animal. It is adapted by Idris Shah and illustrated by Noah Woods. Once upon a time, there was a very clever boy. Nearby was a village that he had never visited. When he was older, he thought he would visit it. Just outside that village, he came upon a crowd of people who were standing in a field, and as he drew near, he saw that they looked quite frightened. He said, "What is wrong?" "Oh," they said, "there is a terrible, dangerous animal in this field, and we are frightened because it might attack us." "Where is the terrible, dangerous animal?" asked the boy. "Oh, be careful," they screamed, and the people pointed to the middle of the field. And when the boy looked where they pointed, he saw a very large melon. "That's not a terrible, dangerous animal," laughed the boy. "Yes, it is," cried the people. "Keep away, it might bite you." The boy said, "I'll go kill this dangerous animal for you." "No," they cried, "it's too terrible and dangerous. It might bite you." But the boy went right up to the melon and soon was eating a large slice out of it. The people were astonished. "What a brave boy! He's killed the terrible, dangerous animal." As they spoke, the boy took another bite out of the large melon. It tasted delicious. Now they have lots of melons. They sell some, eat some, and give some away. They even named their village Melon Village. And just think, it all happened because a clever boy was not afraid when a lot of people thought something was dangerous just because they had never seen it before. The end. It is time for each of you to light your little chalices if you haven't already. And as you take them with you, remember that they represent the light and love of everyone here going with you. We will all sing "On Your Way" to you now as you head downstairs.
Our words of invitation this morning are "Here We Remember Ourselves" by Reverend Gretchen Haley. For some other moment, some other life than here and now, give up the longing for some other world, the wishing for choices to make, of other songs to sing, other bodies, other ages, other countries, other stakes. Purge the past and forgive the future, for each come too soon. Surrender only to this life, this day, and this hour. Not because it doesn't constantly break your heart, but because it also beckons with beauty, startles with delight, and if only we keep waking up. This is the gift that we have been given, these body clothes, this heartbreak, this pulse, this breath, this light, these friends, this hope. If we remember ourselves, all parts of it, giving thanks and by centering joy, come, let us worship together. Our hymn of the month of August is "When the Summer Sun is Shining." It's number 66 in the gray hymnal, and the words will also be on the screens. You are welcome to stand or remain seated as we sing together.
When the summer sun is shining. Good morning. My name is Judy Oliver. Years ago, there was a country artist named K.T. Oslin who had a song called 80s Ladies. I am an 80s lady by a different definition. I'm wearing a green shirt today that has one of my fur babies on it. Some of you may remember that I adopted it because Reverend Michelle asked if anybody here would take a couple of Aussies. And I have her, and she's mine, and I love her. Okay, I'm doing the joys and concerns today. And we have Judith is going to come and light the candles for us. Another Judith. I bet you were not named after Judy Garland, though. Probably not. As a community, we share joys and concerns to keep connected. Slips of paper are available at the greeters table for those in the sanctuary to use for joys and concerns. During the week, you may send your joys and concerns by email to pastoralcare@springfielduu.org or by leaving a voicemail on the church phone at 417-883-3822. If you are on Zoom, please use the chat box now for making your joys and concerns. And Millie is going to check for me.
There's nothing at this time.
Nothing yet.
However, evidently the volume is low on Zoom and everyone's complaining about it.
Okay. Yes. I had that problem. Always thought it was because I live way out in the woods. Well, let's see which ones we have up here.
Excuse me, now one has popped up.
Okay. You want to just read it for us?
Well, I have to read it in the microphone.
Yes, you will, and I'm standing on your step
Oh,
stool.
I think I can talk loud. Excuse me.
There you
All
go.
right. This is from Yomi. I had gallbladder surgery and was in the hospital for 6 days. I got out last week and had complications 6 days later.
Oh, dear.
I had to go back to the hospital, and hopefully it's all figured out. I get out tomorrow. That's all.
So far. I'll call you again if you get some more. It's nice to have people who are technologically superior to me. Okay. This is a joy from Kathleen. 8 years ago today, a wonderful kid came into this world. Asher turns 8 today. This is from Jess, and I think this is a concern. Please rest well, Grandpa, who passed Tuesday, and please help me as I get my business off the ground. So that's a kind of joy and concern. Emmy Seaman. Thank you, Bob Eccles, for trimming the trees and carrying all the branches and limbs to recycle. What would we do without you? Amen. This is Becca G. Yesterday, my dad and I performed a voluntary dog transport, reuniting a retired military dog with her handler. They had been apart for 15 months, and that is a joy. And along that line, I have a joy of my own. I would like to express my joy for everyone in this group who works with Rescue One or CARE or Watching Over Whiskers, however you do it, for helping all those little critters out there that need homes. And my husband and I are getting too old to take them in, so anybody else, please do. But that's a joy. Joy from Becky Mark. I'm joyful because my young nephew has been declared cancer-free after a long and arduous course of chemotherapy. Hooray for Steve and our family. Yes. And from Reverend Michelle. Oh, dear. I wish I'd read this ahead. Roxanne Darby had an emergency surgery this week and experienced some complications afterward. She is out of ICU but still in the hospital. She is not yet up for visitors at this time. Please hold Roxanne and David in your heart as she heals. And that's definitely a concern for us. All these joys and concerns will be included in the members' email on Tuesday. We honor each joy and concern with a lighted candle, a symbol of the love we as a community offer for each of these joys and concerns. And this morning, Judith was lighting the candles. And now as we begin this time of sharing, know that though we are in multiple physical spaces, we are together in beloved community. I think they've got that switched. Anyway, we hold in love, all of us, those present and those absent. We light a candle for our church community. I think this page was turned over. We honor the complex and heartbreaking struggles of our world. We light a candle for all who are impacted. In closing, for those joys and concerns that remain unspoken in our hearts, we light a candle. And may we hold each of these joys and concerns in our hearts and minds. May our community of love ease sorrow and boost celebration. Let us now join together in 1 minute of shared silence, followed by Spirit of Life.
Now, for the second week of August in UU history. The celebrated architect Charles Bulfinch was born on August 8th in Boston, Massachusetts in 1763. He was particularly famous for churches he designed in Boston, Taunton, Lancaster, and Pittsfield, Massachusetts. His most important work was on the State House in Boston. Bulfinch also designed the State House in Hartford, Connecticut, and the Boston Theater. On a larger scale, he served on a committee that regularized the streets around Boston Commons. The original streets were based on cow paths. Bulfinch also designed houses, one of which had an oval room adjoining its garden and became the design for the Oval Office in the White House. Bulfinch was the founding member of All Souls Church, the Unitarian Church in Washington, D.C., and designed its first building. He died on April 4th, 1844. He was 81 years old. We say in our church that the offering is a sacrament of a free church. What we mean by that is that we believe it is a blessing to be able to govern and support our religious communities ourselves, made possible by our generosity, everything we dream and do and live out our shared values together. If electronic giving is your preferred method, or if you are on Zoom, your virtual giving options are available via our website at springfielduu.org. The offertory this morning is Little Rhapsody in Blue by George Gershwin, performed by Eva.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Dr. Michelle Scott Huffman. My pronouns are she, her. I'm the minister here at First UU. I'm not wearing plaid today, which worries some of you. But I keep saying before there was plaid, there were stripes. And so I don't know if these stripes are brown or maroon. So if anyone can help me with that, that would be great. I'm a middle-aged woman with short, spiky, salt and pepper hair, wearing glasses, and happy to be here with you today. Last week, Dr. Tate Aldrich got us started on our UU summer road trip by introducing us to the cast of characters around Concord, Massachusetts, that we often refer to as the American Transcendentalists. And he left us with an important question. How do we, Unitarian Universalists, live in ways more deserving of our ancestors? Our Unitarian Universalist journey is often mapped through New England's quiet meeting houses and the transcendental woods of Concord and the lofty pulpits of Boston. But last week's stop in Concord was just the first leg of our trip. Today, our journey takes us south to Philadelphia, a city defined by dynamic, noisy, and transformative debate. As we visit Philadelphia today, we find the beginnings of the Universalist movement in this country. That's the other part. Often people will say in shorthand, I go to the Unitarian Church. This is a Unitarian Universalist church, and that's an important note. Some people, maybe jokingly, maybe not, say that Unitarians brought the reason and Universalists brought the love. I would argue that we need them both. Long before delegates gathered in Philadelphia to write the United States Constitution, the region was already a haven for radical religious dissenters, pietists, and seekers. At the heart of this early Universalist movement was Dr. George de Benville, a physician and French Huguenot refugee who arrived in Pennsylvania in 1741. De Benville was, above all, a mystic. Decades earlier in Europe, while gravely ill with a fever, he underwent an extraordinary near-death experience, and he has written a book about this experience. He was, in fact, pronounced dead and placed in a coffin in which he resided for 42 hours before someone discovered he was very much alive. And he came out of that coffin, recounting the spiritual realms that he had visited while he was placed in that coffin. There he witnessed the suffering of lost souls, and his heart broke, until a heavenly voice comforted him with a revolutionary revelation. God's boundless love would eventually restore all creatures, without exception, to happiness and wholeness. Universalism. If there is something to be known as salvation or some eternal experience after this life with some divine being, everybody gets it. Everybody's in. That seems like a message that people would be happy about. But at some point in the life of the church, particularly around this time, people weren't thrilled about the idea of universalism. As you might imagine, it cut down on their ability to control, to extract resources from people who wanted to make sure they made it to heaven. Lots of reasons that universalism was not a well-accepted viewpoint within the realm of the church, in particular the Christian church. So when de Benville awoke from his coffin, he brought this burning message to Pennsylvania. While he was there, he practiced medicine, as he had been for some time. He learned herbal medicine from local Native American tribes for his medical practice and boldly declared that glorious truths are found in every religion under the sun. That's a nod to next week's stop in Chicago, where we'll talk about pluralism. By May of 1790, de Binville's mystical seed had blossomed into a growing movement across the young United States. 17 delegates representing 8 societies gathered in Philadelphia for the first nationwide Universalist convention. They came because their young movement faced an urgent crisis of identity. Although they all believed in universalism, there were many other tenets of their beliefs that didn't match up. And they didn't know how to become a group together that was fighting for something against larger forces than the people who were gathered in their group. They were persecuted by Orthodox churches as dangerous heretics, accused of undermining morality, and internally split over their own theology. They needed to answer a fundamental question. How do independent, free-thinking congregations stand together without becoming the very tyrannies they fled? Still a question that we might ask today. Their gathering brought together a remarkable convergence of figures: Dr. Benjamin Rush, who was a signer of the Declaration of Independence, a pioneering physician and an abolitionist who saw universalism as a vital moral framework for a free republic. Elhanan Winchester, a charismatic former Baptist preacher who argued that God's love was so vast that hell was not eternal, but a temporary purifying process of divine restoration. That for a Baptist is dangerously close to the Catholic view of purgatory. John Murray, the father of American Universalism, who argued fiercely against Winchester, believed that salvation was immediate and complete through divine grace with no intermediate state at all. So you see that Universalism came with its own questions that they couldn't all agree with answers to. The debate between Murray's followers and Winchester's followers was fierce, and yet rather than excommunicating one another, they did something groundbreaking. They gathered together in the very city where democratic federalism was being born, and they crafted the Philadelphia Platform of 1790. They offered 5 succinct articles of faith and a plan for church government that was rooted firmly in congregational polity. Now, you may not know what that term means. Essentially, it means that there is no hierarchy outside of the local congregation that defines the rules and the doctrine that has authority over the local congregation. They would say that every congregation was autonomous and that individual conscience was sacred and that no external hierarchy could dictate local belief. I think Tate shared something that maybe Thoreau said similar to that last week. What made the 1790 Philadelphia Platform truly extraordinary is that these early Universalists refused to separate their radical theology from real-world action. They recognized immediately that if God's love embraces all humanity, then human oppression is a direct contradiction of divine reality. And that convention, drafted with the influence of Dr. Benjamin Rush, they passed a groundbreaking resolution on holding slaves. They declared that holding fellow human beings in bondage was entirely inconsistent with the union of the human race and the obligations to mutual and universal love. They called for total refraining from the slave trade, for gradual abolition, and for equal education for black children in 1790. This stance sets a powerful precedent for the modern experience of Unitarian Universalism. In his 2012 Berry Street essay, the Reverend Frederick Muir reminds us that our call to social justice can't merely be an external political hobby, it is our ecclesiology, which is a fancy word that means our understanding of church. Too often, as Reverend Muir observes, our congregations are eager to march out there on the streets while ignoring the hard work of transformation in here. We want to reform the world, but we hesitate to reform our own boardroom, budgets, institutional habits. The 1790 delegates understood what we must remember today, which is justice is an act of covenant. When we stand for anti-racism, environmental justice, LGBTQ+, full inclusion, civil rights, relationships, we're not just doing good deeds, we're proving that theology is real. We're practicing what has been called justice in reach, making sure that local congregations embody the beloved community before, or at least while, we preach it to the world. This is the reason that as your minister, I won't show up out there in the community by myself, representing you. Because when I show up representing this congregation on a justice issue and there's nobody around me that's a part of the congregation, I don't think it's honest to say that that's a statement from this congregation, but that it's simply something that I care about. And so when we as a congregation want to make a statement on some issue of justice, we together need to go and show up out in the world. And that comes from the transformation that happens in here when we do justice in reach. When we require of ourselves the same kind of introspection and learning and growth that we expect people out there in the world to be doing. And it seems, I don't know, maybe strange to think of this in terms of congregational polity, because we often talk about congregational polity in business-like terms, bylaws, board meetings, parliamentary procedure. But at its core, as church historian Conrad Wright reminds us, polity is a deeply spiritual matter. It's how we organize ourselves in relationship together. It asks the ultimate questions of communal life. Where does authority lie? How do we live together without crushing the individual? How do we organize for justice? Our polity traces back to the Cambridge Platform of 1648 and was reframed by those 1790 Universalists in Philadelphia. It establishes that no outside hierarchy can dictate what a congregation believes or how it acts. But with that freedom comes an immense responsibility, a responsibility with and to one another that we call covenant. As Reverend Muir observed, our tradition has too often fallen into a trap of conflating the sacred value of the individual with an ideology of radical individualism, what he calls the I Church. When we treat church merely as a consumer marketplace for individual self-expression, our institutions fracture. Congregational polity is the antidote to the I Church. Polity says we need each other. It insists on freedom from outside hierarchies, but also insists that freedom is not the absence of commitment. Freedom is not the absence of accountability, but the courage to enter into a shared covenant, to promise one another, in the words of our living tradition, our mutual trust and support. When we look back at the Philadelphia Platform, we see a faith forged in a crucible of robust, passionate debate. Those early Universalists were not folks who were willing to sit on the fence and play nice with the people around them, because they knew that what they understood about divine reality, what they understood about human nature, was too important to leave unsaid. They argued a lot. If you ever look at historical documents from the early church years, many of them are named against Marcion, against origin. All of these theological treatises that get written are an argument against somebody else's idea and understanding. They argued in pamphlets from pulpits on street corners because they believed that the truth could withstand scrutiny and that theology had real-world consequences. Today we find ourselves, I think, with one of two maladies. We're either addicted to or allergic to robust debate. We mistake agreement for harmony or conflict for a failure of love. We have precious few places where people can practice scrutinizing one another's truths without it devolving into insult and animosity. Yet when we avoid these hard conversations, we sever our theology from its real-world consequences, simply because we fear being mistaken for those fundamentalists who demand that others live by their creed. Friends, a faith that cannot handle disagreement is a fragile faith. A faith that cannot handle disagreement is a fragile faith. And a faith that doesn't show up in our civic life is an impotent faith. A faith that doesn't show up in our civic life is an impotent faith. Ours is a faith worth arguing for, but always arguing with love at the center and girded by the values we hold sacred. The Universal Declaration, adopted by the International Council of Unitarians and Universalists in 1995, demonstrated that radical diversity does not have to mean division. Representatives at that gathering from around the globe, North America to Transylvania, France to the Khasi Hills of India, came together with vast theological differences. Yet after rigorous late-night dialogue, they crafted a declaration centered on liberty of conscience, democratic process, and responsible stewardship. The Universal Declaration reads, "We, the member groups of the International Council of Unitarians and Universalists, affirming our belief in religious community based on liberty of conscience and individual thought in matters of faith, the inherent worth and dignity of every person, justice and compassion in human relations, responsible stewardship in human relations, and our commitment to democratic principles, declare our purposes to be to serve the infinite spirit of life and the human community by strengthening the worldwide Unitarian and Universalist faith, to affirm the variety and richness of our living traditions, to facilitate mutual support among member organizations, to promote our ideals and principles around the world, and to provide models of liberal religious response to the human condition which upholds our common values." Today we face complex issues of our own: climate change, systemic inequality, deep political polarization, and we can't afford to retreat into insular individualism or polite silence. We need a faith worth arguing for, one that is full of curiosity, openness, and groundedness in our own individual and collective convictions, and others need such a faith as well. When I stand in this pulpit in front of these banners, I do so with great pride and with great hope that every time we gather, someone is in this room that represents at least several of these banners, and that we show up in the fullness of those belief systems and we bring them into our conversations and seekers and in spirit and practice, and even our meditation that we do before we come into the service. We bring the fullness of those belief systems and we let them bump up against each other. And we talk about our truths in such a way that all of us enter into the conversation willing to be transformed and willing to understand something different than we did coming into that moment. Let's not come into this place and have it just be the least common denominator of religious and spiritual experience. But let's come into this place and have it be the fullness of all the different beliefs that we bring into this space together. Because we are not just merely the caretakers of the history of Unitarian Universalism. We are stewards of the Unitarian Universalism of the past and developers of the Unitarian Universalism of tomorrow. The conversations we have and decisions we make together as a church are writing the history that future generations will inherit, and also are hopefully deserving, as Tate said last week, of those ancestors who showed up boldly and faithfully to blaze the trails that our fellowship has been built on. If we want our faith to thrive rather than shrink, we must embody what Reverend Muir calls congregational justice in reach. We must make our congregations living laboratories of beloved community, places where power is shared, where differences are held with grace, and where prophetic spirituality fuels our work in the world. The early Universalists who met in Philadelphia in 1790 stepped into an uncertain future with radical hope, believing that freedom, reason, and love were sufficient tools to build a church. The same task now falls to us. May we lean into every debate with curiosity and grace. May we honor the covenant that we share together with presence and care. And may we build a faith strong enough and loving enough and brave enough to improve the world we inhabit together. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. The interlude is Summertime by George Gershwin, performed by Eva. Our closing words today are from Eric Williams. May you be filled with the blessings of this covenanted community. May you carry them with you as you depart from here. May you discover the places in the world where these blessings are needed. May you have the courage to share them. May there be an open place within you to receive the blessings of the people whom you will meet along the way. Our final hymn this morning is "With Joy We Claim the Growing Light." It's number 345 in the gray hymnal. The words will be on the screens. You're welcome to stand or remain seated, however you are comfortable, and then you can stay that way as we wrap up our service. Friends, if you want to take something spiritual away from this kind of heady historical conversation we've had today, it's that the people who paved this path for us showed up with fierce boldness and with deep spirituality, and we are invited to do the same as we engage the issues of our world today. May it be so. I want to invite Judith to come extinguish our chalice, and we'll share together our unison sending words. Our service here is ending. Our service to the world begins anew. Go in peace, friends, but don't go from here yet. Go that way if you are musical. Go that way if you need coffee and conversation.